website mandates, quote, that public engagement should be undertaken to inform and educate, to solicit and receive input, and to build support for the plan's implementation, unquote. Further, it says, and I quote, informing and educating the public can be done through formal public meetings and workshops, open houses, websites, social media, presentations at meetings of community organizations, and other means of communication. Finally, the site says quite definitively that the consultant with input from the LPC will develop a public engagement strategy to enable residents, public and private agencies, community organizations, local businesses, and institutions of learning to work toward a shared vision for a more vibrant downtown. So my question to you all is, where is your process? Where is your public input? Because it appears to us that you're about to vote on a new plan for the Durkee Street lot without having any mechanism for any kind of public input. So I would like to hear your response to that question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other individuals like to please come address the council?
Here's one chance for public input, as she asked, if you want.
Hi, I'm Shauna Kelty, and I am a resident of Oak Street. I hope this is within my 5-minute time limit. To say that I am disappointed and heartbroken doesn't begin to address my thoughts, beliefs, feelings regarding the actions that the Common Council and the mayor have taken in the past year. That I think they have grossly mishandled their responsibilities and powers as their representatives may be a wild understatement. While the DRI project does not require community input and support from the state, as our community leaders, you should want it. Not merely suggestions or stickers on a board, but actual support from your constituents. Your development project to gentrify downtown is a gross error in judgment. It is creating not only more problems with more costs to your constituents, it is not merely the $10 million in DRI grant funds, but now you've approved money that we pay in taxes for asbestos abatement on a building that you're going to raise to the ground to create a parking lot. We already have one of those. I'm incredibly concerned as a citizen of the city. I love Plattsburgh, and I want it to grow, and I want us to thrive. I think each of you needs to take a big, long, hard look at who Plattsburgh really is, not what you want us to be. Who are the people who live here, and how can we make living here better, more resilient? We live in an incredibly economically depressed county. Gentrifying downtown isn't going to ameliorate that, but rather it will exacerbate it. Recognize who currently lives here within our city limits. Recognize the needs of the people who live here. Work incrementally. See if what we do works and grow from that. A Field of Dreams project that benefits only a few and strips away the majority of your constituents access to yet another waterfront and uproots an already well-established farmers market and community gathering site makes me question if Plattsburgh is a place that I can continue to call home. Do you want this to be your legacy for the next generation? Do you want that responsibility? I know that the mayor and the council persons have bandied about strong towns as if what they are doing has an official Chuck Marone stamp of approval, but it doesn't. And it is antithetical to incremental steps and iterations of those small changes, which is a fundamental key to a strong town's approach. I also understand that the council and the mayor are concerned that if they don't use the DRI funds in some manner soon, that they may not get another grant. Well, perhaps you shouldn't, because your actions are demonstrating that you do not know what is in the best interest of your 19,000 constituents. This isn't like building a condo in Portland. It isn't as common as that. Your actions are leading us down a road of gentrification in a rural community. I repeat, rural. Who's going to move here? We already have a shortage of dentists, of doctors, of specialists in areas such as diabetes, something that is incredibly common in our county. Displacing the farmer's market and uprooting a community area is not going to bring people with loads of money to Plattsburgh. What will? I don't know that I have all the answers, but first and foremost, they might want to live in a community where they feel as citizens, as constituents, that their representatives understand and support them. They may also want to see a community that takes time and intention to develop in ways that reflect their identity. Perhaps fewer signs and more art? A downtown playground? What about taking DRI funds and helping out local business folks with restoring their storefronts or creating a starter fund for renovations? Better bus shelters, public restrooms? What already exists here that we can make improvements upon? What already exists that just needs a little leg up? How do we grow the community that already exists here? It's not about invention. It's about small and smart incremental innovation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other individuals like to please come address the council?
Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Jonathan Schneiderman, small business owner, downtown, 15 years. And so I just wanted to say that it concerns me that the new iteration of the plans are coming out today and the council is going to vote on them today when the public is just getting to see them today. Shouldn't there be some period of time where we can digest the material, consider it, and have an opportunity for public comment? So that's the first thing I want to mention. And the second is that in your agenda item, it says, Common Council accepts and approves the preliminary plans submitted by Prime, subject to permitting requirements and seeker review by the city's planning board, zoning board of appeals, and/or county planning board. Doesn't say anything about review by the public. And I'd like to remind the council, according to the seeker handbook, that seeker documents must be made available to the public, that they are public records. The seeker documents are public records and must be made available for public review. So I hope that you will take that to heart and publish it on the website so that we can all review it and see what's in there. It's a very important document. For those that may not know, it has to do with environmental impact, and I hope you'll do that. Thank you.
Any other members of the public like to speak on the opposite side of this issue? Any members of the public like to speak on any other issue?
Well, I'm not sure which side of this issue it falls on, but my name is Joan Jansen. I am a former teacher of hospitality and tourism. I have a PhD in hospitality and tourism, so forgive me if I appear to be lecturing you a little bit, but I am concerned because, like other members of the public, I feel to a certain extent you had made decisions which are being forced upon us. And a longer time for us to review what the decisions are, I think would be a better idea. If I say to you, Taos, Nantucket, Miami, or Lake Placid, there's probably something that springs to your mind. At least I hope so. Probably that's because those places have constructed their environment. They have a face. I am very concerned that what you are prepared to just hands down say yes to in a quite rushed fashion will be something that will not be respectful of the environment that currently exists. Those places do well as tourism destinations, in part because they do have a face. They have a personality. If we choose to look the other way and just put something in because, oh, we've got this money and we've got to spend it, we're doing ourselves a real disservice. Not only for right now, but for, think how long this building is going to last. 50 years, 100 years, 200 years before they tear it down. It should be something that complements the environment. We need something that coordinates with the other architecture that exists in Plattsburgh. The building materials and the climate, they should be appropriate for our environment, and this building should be a reflection of our cultural history, so that it fits in with the other buildings. It doesn't stand out like a sore thumb. It can be well done. Let me ask you to think about the addition to the Vilas home. I think that you can plainly see it's not a copy of what was there. It's a reflection that complements the building that was the original. The Maple Fields, I commend everybody who was involved in the process of getting the new Maple Fields on the oval to look like it belongs there. It doesn't look like a junky kind of shop where you would run in and fill your gas tanks. It really looks like it belongs, but it took work to make that happen. By saying yes instantly to this plan, I'm afraid that we're missing an opportunity to make whatever it is that we build, and I'm not saying don't build, what I'm saying is be smart about it, for heaven's sakes. We have a history of mishandling our assets in our area, and as I said to my application, I'm on the Plattsburgh Livability Committee. I'm really glad that I wasn't here when the sewage treatment plant was built, because I'd want to chain myself to a bulldozer. That is the most prime piece of property. And in fact, the Saranac River flowing through downtown, think of how many other towns have that asset. We do. We shouldn't misuse it by allowing a swimming pool to be built right there. We should think about how we're going to integrate the river into our community for the long-term benefit of all the residents. You know, I talk with other residents, and yeah, we've got a auction house that kind of has a dump that faces the Saranac River. We allowed a family dollar store to be built right next to the Saranac River. There are no windows in the store. There's nothing to view. And if you were on the Saranac looking up, what would you see at the side of a building? Not real attractive. We've used the place to dump waste, so we've had to have a cleanup project. We have not been smart about the way we've used our waterways and our touristic resources. And I'm asking you to please smarten up. Don't say yes automatically. Make sure that whatever gets built, take the time to get it right, because if you don't, we have to live with it for a very, very long time. Furthermore, I might just add that companies that come prepared to show you what the plan looks like will often show you an artistic rendering that is taken from a perspective of perhaps a drone or somebody who's on the 10th floor looking down on it. Nobody is going to be looking at this project from the 10th floor of any place. So when you ask them, well, what is this going to look like? For heaven's sakes, require a street view. So the person who is walking by will get a sense of what is it that this is going to be. So thank you very much. I urge caution if you decide to proceed, because not just you, but everybody else in Plattsburgh is going to have to live with your decisions.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who would like to speak on any other issue on the agenda tonight? Seeing none, let's continue.
Whereas the city of Plattsburgh entered into a development agreement with Prime Plattsburgh LLC, hereafter Prime, on April 1st, 2019, for Prime to study, design, seek, and obtain permit approval, purchase, and then construct a mixed-use development on the real property located at 22 Durkee Street in the city of Plattsburgh. And whereas the development agreement stipulates that the Common Council shall approve the preliminary plans generated by Prime during the pre-permitting and design phase of the project. And whereas Prime has presented sufficient preliminary plans to the Common Council for their review and comment. Now therefore, it is hereby resolved, the Common Council accepts and approves the preliminary plans submitted by Prime, subject to permitting requirements and seeker review by the city's Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, and/or the County Planning Board.
By Councilor Armstrong, second by Councilor Gibbs. Discussion.
Yeah, I understand that we have a presentation. Is this the appropriate time to request that? And then I hope that during discussion that each of us can, in some way, add our perspective to our decision-making process and what we feel led up to this point. And so,
Please.
would you mind turning that around so that you can address the public, if that's possible?
I'll try.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
I
that's
guess I'm not
fine.
addressing you. You'll have to hear me. Good evening. I'm Gail Henderson King with White and Burke, and I have been working on behalf of the city on the public-private partnership redevelopment of the Durkee Street lot. Just to start on a quick overview, as you know, this is part of the DRI revitalization projects. There's the Durkee Street site, and then there's streetscape improvements and riverfront access projects that are also all interconnected into this whole site. So as part of the DRI revitalization project, just to start context, the goals of that project are to create a vibrant downtown connecting the existing city's assets with the riverfront and the lakefront, and taking advantage of the river, taking advantage of the arts corridor, providing housing and shopping and options for people downtown to become a vibrant, build upon and become a vibrant city, and attracting businesses and jobs to support the economic development of the city. So those are just the overall goals. So over the last several months, there's been due diligence work that has been going on, and no plans had been created during that time. So we've been the developers done soil borings, geotechnical work, environmental determinations. Those have all helped to shape the project. The farmers market relocation has been a prime piece of this site, and the Common Council has worked with the farmers market on determining where that project would make the best sense for being downtown. And at this moment, it is not going to be on the Durkee Street site as part of that involvement with the farmers market, and they're helping them with that decision. Obviously, the city is working on a separate parking plan relocation, and that is going on as well. So tonight, there will be conceptual plans that will be presented by Prime and showing what they're proposing. In addition, we'll also show the streetscape improvements and riverfront access improvements and the arts park improvements. So at this point, I will turn it over to Prime Companies.
Thank you, Gail.
Thanks, Gail. Since we were last before the public back in January with this process, we've had a number of comments given to us by both the public and the city, and we've been working on a weekly basis with the city, consultants, and our team, trying to address the comments to the best of our ability, incorporate some of the good points that we've received throughout the process, and address some of the concerns that we have. We're pretty happy with what we have to propose tonight. A couple of the big things are obviously parking is a critical item for everybody. And we've been able to really substantially increase parking both on the site and off the site for both private and public uses, which we're excited to show you. We've been able to increase the connectability between the new developments in the Arts Park going down to the Saranac River through this site as well, which we'll show you in a minute, as well as also increase green space. So that's something else that was important to us. So increasing parking, increased green space, and increased pedestrian access on the site were some critical items that we're able to do. As Gail said, we've been working with a team of engineers, attorneys, architects, and other consultants to help get us to where we are today in our regular meetings. So I'm going to turn it over to Turner Bradford, the project engineer, to go through the details, and then we'll be able to go through any other questions or concerns. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Ted.
Thanks, Ted.
So you're going to present these on the screen?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you might want to pivot. You can see.
You guys got it right.
Can we maybe hit
Yeah,
the
we
front
do.
lights? Can we hit the lights, maybe one of the switches?
So,
Thank you.
all right. Good evening.
Okay.
Thank you, Todd. As he mentioned, I'm Turner Bradford from McFarland Johnson. So what this is was what we presented last time. So this was the concept that we came here with, and as Todd mentioned, we got, our big takeaways were more parking, more green space, and ensuring access to the arts park and the river. So actually, if you go to 2 there, so of those 2 buildings, the building on the north side of the lot had underground parking, and actually I'm not gonna go into what we did. I'd rather show you, taking those comments that we did get, what we have done. So the first thing we did was actually shrink up the buildings and pull them away from Durkee Street and the river. So the Riverwalk you see here is the Riverwalk that Saratoga Associates, the consultant who's working with the city on the DRI, developing the streetscape and the Riverwalks. This is their Riverwalk layout, so we've incorporated that into our site and basically shortened up our buildings to give them the room that they require. We also pulled the buildings planned south, but west. I think I did that last time as well. Away from the street, and that has given us the ability to put in more parking along Durkee Street there, so those angled parking along Durkee Street. We have modified building 2, and actually, Ethan, if you wouldn't mind going to 4. So we made it a U shape and we put parking under that building entirely as well. So what we've been able to do is increase the parking on the site by about 50 spaces, and overall between the site and Durkee Street by 115. So as Todd mentioned, we feel that was a big win. We were able to do that by going underground on building 2. Actually, even if you go back to 3, thanks. While also increasing the green space. So obviously we added a lot of landscaping. We added some trees along bridge. We've incorporated the walkway along the river, some planting along Durkee Street, as well as the pedestrian access down the center of the site. We've made it wider. It's 25 feet wide through the main portion of the site, and I think 40 feet wide at the top. And we've added some landscaping through there as well. Previously, there was parking on both sides of that drive aisle that came down through the site, so we've eliminated parking on one side and widened that up for access. Those are really the big changes. Those are really the changes that we've made. Again, this is still a conceptual layout. So actually, if you want, Ethan, you can go to 5, I think. So this will show, it's just a little bit broader of a picture, incorporating Saratoga Associates' layout of the arts park to the west, sort of showing the overall connectivity of the project, the access through the site from the arts park to the river. So I think those are the things we wanted to highlight, and certainly if
Once you point out the movement of
please.
your building's recreation center.
Yeah, so in making the building on the south side, in making that a U shape, right, we pulled the residential amenity space out of the sort of common area into that into the center of that U. So it becomes a little more enclosed and sort of self-contained, opening up then that space for parking, as well as greening it up a little bit. So we felt that was a win-win as well. Yeah, and certainly if there are questions from the common council, we'd be more than happy to address
Okay.
them. I don't know if you want to add anything, Todd?
I think, Turner, you hit the critical parts, and again, we tried to hear a lot of the comments that we received, incorporate on this plan, work closely with the city and Saratoga Associates in implementing the other projects that are going on, moving the footprints around from things that we learned from geotech studies and environmental studies. We eliminated the pool, which was some feedback that we received from some folks, but we feel that we can implement other amenities that can be used more year-round at this project. Yeah, and overall the connectability between the several things going on within the city in this location, we feel like we've really been able to enhance it by some of these modifications that we made, as well as introducing some on-site public parking, which was not part of the previous application. So that's something that will hopefully alleviate some of the concerns that we heard as well. So,
Thank you,
thank
gentlemen.
you.
Thank you.
So, want to hit the lights over there again? I hope we can actively address some of the points that Right.
Any further discussion from the council?
I would just like to thank Gail and Todd and Turner and everyone else involved. I know that I attended one of the original meetings when it was presented, and there was a lot of feedback and suggestions and so on from the public, and I think you did hear those concerns, and I think you sufficiently addressed them.
Yeah, excuse me. So I'd also like to say that you as a group to deal with, you've been very accommodating all along the way. Questions, concerns, more demands on what it should look like, what it should include, should not include. You have been exceptionally amenable to all of that, and I just wanted to say that I really appreciate that. You have addressed parking, green space, pedestrian access. You've done all the things that along the way all of our constituents have been exceptionally concerned about, and I think you've answered all of those very specifically. I think that it would be important, though, Mayor Reed, to reiterate for the audience one more time, when we cast our vote as a council tonight, what are we approving? So that everyone here understands what exactly are we approving, so that there's no misunderstandings about what this means. I think that needs to be very clearly stated right now.
Certainly a number of months ago, you gave approval to continue to the next step of producing some designs that you could look at, and with the proviso that you would then have an opportunity to come and look at those designs again, make sure they're consistent with the original agreement and concept with Prime, before you then send the packet for further review to zoning and planning and county planning, etc.
That's the next step.
So the
Those
next
are the
step-
next
That's
steps.
So your job now is to make sure that their proposal is consistent with what they originally proposed and you originally
Right.
approved before it goes to
Right.
permitting and design.
And it can't go forward to permitting until we vote.
Right. And so what we did, April, what was it, 1st, was enter into a development agreement with Prime, at which time we agreed upon certain terms of this development. And I think it was in January, the public first saw the conceptual drawings of this project. Now, after the April meeting, there have been several opportunities for people to come here, address the council. We have had certain people come. There have been gatherings on the steps of City Hall, and from those contacts, I know I personally and others have reached out to people to address their concerns, try to have conversations about what the history behind this project is, because it goes way back to the application for the DRI. And I've always tried to frame my support for this project in terms of my understanding of the purpose of the DRI and how it would be a catalytic infusion of money and investment in our community that would lead to other kinds of investments. We are a cash-strapped community. We have 35% tax-exempt property. We, as a council, struggle every week with issues having to do with how we're going to sustain ourselves and provide the services that we need, you need for your community. And having this development, we strongly feel, will assist in the kind of growth and prosperity that we believe is our due as a city. So I've been, getting back to the point of listening to people, I have directly taken the feedback I've gotten from those folks who contacted me and I contacted them to Prime, and those concerns have been addressed. So I encourage everybody to view the decision-making process within the context of much longer than just 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, whatever point at which you may have entered into the idea of whether this was a good project or not. It's much longer standing. And I believe we've done our homework, and I think that all the process that has led up to this has been satisfactory.
Any council comments? Councilor McFarland?
I gotta say, the thing I'm most impressed with, I remember it was last fall, we got an email from a doctor in town asking that, this was before the RFP went out, no matter what kind of project goes in there, we would ask that you put an underground parking structure. And I thought at the time that would never happen. And then Prime came in and their original proposal was 70 underground parking spots. And I thought that was, I kind of can't believe it, because we've talked about parking garages a lot and how they're kind of prohibitively expensive, and underground parking is even more expensive. And after that, they talked about that maybe they could fit in some underground parking under Building 2. I certainly wasn't expecting 80 more parking spots to go in. And that Building 2 got larger and added 80 more parking spots under the entire project. So now we have 150 parking spots underground, quite a bit more that are under building, which will come in handy for the residents there, and certainly will be valuable parking during winter months in inclement weather. But I am very happy because I know in the parking committee we've been talking about parking, how to replace parking, ad nauseum rather. It took quite a bit, and adding 150 underground parking spots, I think that's very impressive. It must have raised the cost of this project considerably. I don't know how much, but I would thank you for listening to the public's concerns about that and addressing it. Thank you.
Any other councilor comments at this time? Councilor Kelly?
I'd just like to sort of follow up a little bit on what Councilor Armstrong said. That is that our city is looking for growth. We need growth. We have lived very painfully in the past several years with the fact that we're not growing, that we're actually losing population, and we come up short every year with our finances just to fund our day-to-day operations, such as fire and police and various services that are just absolutely essential to a healthy city. And Mayor Reed is an economist, and whenever he talks economics and finance, I listen. And he told me recently that a city that can't grow about 2% a year is doomed to fail. And that is the critical need in this city is growth. We are managing to to keep our heads above water, basically, but we're not able to build fund balance, for example, because we can't meet this 2% growth goal. And this project, to me, is just perfect to help us reach that goal. You're going to bring 139 families downtown, and that can only help our merchants. I can't imagine why any merchant would be opposed to that. These people are going to move in, and they're going to be eager to seek services as close to home as they can get them, just like everybody else. Well, close to home is downtown. So our downtown can look forward to a renaissance when this project is done. And I just like to point out that I hope everyone read the proposal. The words that stick out to me are study, design, seek, obtain, pre-permitting, design phase, preliminary. All of these words say that this job is far from over. We have lots more work to do to make sure that we provide a good housing downtown, and that the people who are performing that task for us are doing a good job. And they're just as interested in doing a good job as we are. I mean, they want to have success just as much as we do, if not more. So we're grateful to you for what you've done so far. And we look forward to when we actually get around to talking about not preliminary plans, but real plans. So that's something that's coming up in the future. And one last thing I'd like to say is, someone commented that we've got this money and we've got to spend it. I've never heard that expressed by any council member. Never heard anybody say that. We've got this money and we've got to spend it. No, it's been a slow, deliberate, thoughtful process, and the public input was sought many times. You can go on our website and see for yourself all the various meetings that were held, and you can also see the plan for how we're going to implement this exciting new phase of downtown Plattsburgh. So I hope all of you will go visit our website and look at those plans, and understand that this is a long-range process. It's not going to happen overnight, and it's certainly not over by any means. Thank you.
Any other additional council comments?
Yeah, the other change I was happy to see that certainly was brought up most prominently by Daniel Erb at the January meeting was the widening of the middle connection between the Arts Park and the access for the riverfront.
How many feet did you say, like 24?
25 feet.
25 feet.
Narrowest part.
Right.
So it's 49.
25 feet is wider than streets. That's pretty wide, and I see trees on it. That makes me pretty happy, and I think part of building 2 actually overhangs and opens up underneath a little, so it's even a little wider at that spot than 25 feet. And to connect the Arts Park, as you can see in the picture, with the riverfront, I think that's fantastic, because I agree. I believe you said your name was Joan, but I agree with her 100%. The city has turned its back on our natural assets. We're cut off from the lake by the railroad. We have 2 restaurants on the lake, and I believe one's McDonald's. We have no, great access to the river.
One's temporary.
Yeah, we have a beautiful river going through our downtown, and it connects to the lake, and we have a sewage treatment plant at that connection. We have almost no access to the river anywhere in our city. Right now, probably the best access you have towards it is a big parking lot. And the thing about this project, I like about the DRI, and this project specifically, in conjunction with the Riverfront and Streetscapes project, it opens up that river to public access. It allows, you can see the riverfront circles around the IBC building, so that it connects to future phase 2 of the Saranac River Trail. And this is the part, once it's finished, this will be the only part we have where there's really a nice walkway and nice public access to the river, and hopefully we can get more in the future.
Thank you. Any further comments?
Well, I just had one thing to add that came up at our meetings this afternoon, and this isn't a sure thing, but they did mention that the street view could be altered by making false partitions to make it look like many small buildings instead of one big building. And I don't know if that's, gonna actually end up in plans, but it was a great idea, and I thought that it answers the question that someone had here tonight about, is it gonna look monolithic and like a big warehouse? But it can be made to look very, very good, and I have full confidence in the prime properties being able to come through with that.
Well, and I would also like to recall our conversations about the feedback you'd received regarding architectural design. And you had expressed that you had heard that and that you were in the process of looking up different architectural designs that blend in with the historic nature of our downtown as well. So, I mean, I'd like to just put that out there so that people understand that this is an evolving project, and one I believe that the investors are really interested in doing in a way that accommodates our desires.
Any further comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves that the mayor is authorized to sign a new contract with Plus Data Innovations, Inc. for parking ticket collection services at a cost of 17% of the revenue. This is a 0.5% reduction to the current contract, and they will provide all new equipment, including desktop computers, handheld ticketing hardware, software, and maintenance of the same.
Moved by Councilor Ansel, second by Councilor Armstrong. Discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves the city channel to adjust the 2019 general fund budget by an increase of $3,885.60, equally in estimated revenues and appropriations for the insurance proceeds claimed for the repairs of a damaged police vehicle.
Moved by Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor McFarland. Discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Formation.
Beth, I'd like to waive a reading and move to resolution.
Moved by Councilor McFarland, second by Councilor Gibbs. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion on the item itself?
I'm very happy we're doing this.
Yeah.
A lot of our conversations, I talked about the changes we're making at MLD, and certainly one of those is coming up next on the agenda, which I'm really excited about. And a lot of our conversations in planning with the DRI, with parking, are trying to make our city more walkable, more environmentally friendly. And I think with this sustainability task force, it will help us along in that and keep us focused on that goal.
I too am very excited, and I think the opportunity to work with the coalition throughout the region that will be formed at the same time is equally exciting. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves that the mayor is authorized to sign an agreement between the New York Municipal Power Agency and the Plattsburgh Municipal Lighting Department regarding procurement of renewable energy credits to be used by Plattsburgh to achieve 100% renewable energy electric supply.
Moved by Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor Ensel. Discussion.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited about this. If anyone who follows MLD board meetings, he knows we get about 98% of our electricity through renewable sources through a contract that was recently extended for another, was it 25 years, Colin? I think it was 25 years.
20 years, I believe.
20 years, sorry. And where we get some of the cheapest power in the country, but it's all renewable, it's all hydroelectric. The only reason we're not 100% is because sometimes we go over our quota. We only have 104 megawatts of power to use at any given hour, I believe. So whenever we go over that quota, we have to buy energy on the spot price and on the energy market. And that purchase is very hard to ensure that it's gonna be renewable. We need it at that time. We don't wanna pay exorbitant fees. And by getting involved with renewable energy credits, we are essentially buying futures in renewable energy. It will make us be, I think Colin, you mentioned it, we're one of the first 7 municipalities in the country to have 100% renewable energy, and I'm very happy about that. I think it goes very well with this task force that we just implemented, and I would hope we all vote yes on it.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Enzel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Congratulations on becoming the 7th city in the nation to do so. Please continue.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves that the mayor is authorized to sign a deed and related documents to merge tax map parcel 207.20-7-14, 40 Bridge Street into tax map parcel 207.20-7-15, 22 Derby Street.
Moved by Councilor Ansel, second by Councilor McFarland.
So before we enter into discussion, we have some housekeeping to accomplish with this resolution. So you all have in front of you a short form environmental assessment form that was prepared by the Community Development Director. The purpose, the first step is to deem what type of action this will be. Again, this is just a merger of those 2 tax map parcels identified in the resolution. So the options that you would have would be to deem it type 1 action, which requires a formal comprehensive environmental review, a type 2 action, which requires no environmental review, or an unlisted action, which requires a moderate environmental review. Based on the action in front of you, it's presumably an unlisted action where the city can serve as lead agent. And if that is the consensus, we can take a resolution, and that'll allow us to get to the next steps of the process. So we first need a resolution to deem it an unlisted action with the city serving as lead agent.
You don't think it would be a type 2 action?
Arguably, but rather than, type 2 action allows for lot line adjustments and similar ministerial real property conveyances to be deemed as a type 2 action. But to be on the to err on the side of review, let's deem it as an unlisted action.
Okay.
Resolution moved by Councilor McFarland, second by Councilor Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, so with that, we can go to the part 2 of the short environmental assessment form. And there's 11 questions that the council would have to answer. To make this as efficient as possible, we can review each question and review each question, basically take a straw poll and have a discussion on each question, and then do a formal resolution after we've discussed each item to kind of bring it home. Remember now that this is just an action to authorize a merger of 2 parcels. Obviously, it relates to the Derby Street lot. That larger project where there's going to be actual permitting and everything else in front of the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals will have its own review. So this is not to review the Derby Street development that we see, it's just to review the process of a deed from the city to the city. The highway oil parcel was obtained by the city in 2014 through a tax foreclosure proceeding where the previous owner hadn't paid its taxes and the city foreclosed on it. It's been serving as a public space currently. It's not a parkland currently. It's basically just a green area that's been a postage stamp for this larger lot. Certainly, while the council is likely hopeful, or the public may be hopeful that the larger development project will proceed, this action itself doesn't require it to proceed. It's simply a merger of 2 lots. Regardless of whether the larger development proceeds, this would have been accomplished in any event. So with that, if that makes sense to kind of do it as efficiently as possible, we can walk through the 11 points. Again, with the understanding that it's just a deed conveyance with any further review to be accomplished at a later
It's the
date.
same land, it's just not having it divided up with a little tiny spot
It's-
and then the rest of it.
Yep,
It's
to-
merging those two.
Merging two parcels.
Yes.
Two
Yeah, it's not a
parcels.
subdivision, it's a merger, so
Right.
there's actually not much regulation in our code regarding this. It's just typically a real estate scenario where you're signing a deed from the city to the city. So the first question is whether it would create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations.
No.
No.
Will it result in a change, will this merger result in the change in the use or intensity of the use of land?
No.
No.
Okay, and again, if anyone disagrees, we can have a discussion, but let's keep going. Will the proposed action of this merger impair the character and quality of the existing community?
No.
Will this proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area?
No.
Okay, will this proposed action, again, the merger, result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
No.
Will this proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy, and if fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
No.
Number 7, will this proposed action impact existing either public or private water supplies or public-private wastewater treatment utilities?
No.
8, will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
No.
9, will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, for example, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, or fauna?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
No.
Finally, will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No. Because we're just talking about tax parcels and making two one.
Yes.
So that's all.
So with that, you can have a resolution to accept those proposed findings on part 2, and then deem that there will not be any adverse environmental impact, any significant adverse environmental impacts for this project.
Resolution as stated, Councilor McFarland, second by Councilor Gibbs. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Armstrong?
Yes.
Sorry, Counselor Armstrong? Trying to be right. Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
So with that housekeeping done, you can turn to the resolution.
It's been first and seconded. Any further discussion on the resolution itself on item F? Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
No travel requests at this time.
I'm sorry.
Additional travel requests.
There is a travel request.
There's already, oh, that's right here in item 9. Okay, I'm sorry.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves a police department employee to attend New York State Homeland Security and Emergency Services initial response to active shooter training from June 23rd through 25th, 2019 in Oriskany, New York. The total cost will not exceed $155 and will be expensed out of the asset forfeiture fund. The lodging and training will be provided by the Department of Homeland Security.
Moved by Councilor Gibbs and second by Councilor Kelly. Discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Sure.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Is there any additional new business or council reports?
I just had one thing, the Livable Community Committee requested that the mayor and the building inspector could come to our next meeting, June 5th. And we'll try to provide a written list of questions so that we'll be able to prepare.
Perfect.
Thanks.
5 o'clock, correct, Jeff?
1 o'clock.
Remind the public to, first of all, thank you for your patience on the grinding of Cornelia Street, Upper Cornelia. Given the weather and the long weekend, the paving will reconvene in better weather on Tuesday and Wednesday. We expect to be completed by the end of Wednesday of next week, so that'll be certainly welcome to us all. Any other additional new business or council reports? We will end the meeting here then with closing public comments on any topic that wasn't on the agenda. And then we'll reconvene following that for a short field trip to Harborside. Weather permitting, doesn't seem to be storming yet, so. Are there any other members of the public like please come address the council on issues that weren't on the agenda tonight?
Or any.
Can I say something about what was on the agenda tonight?
Yeah, please.
Of course.
My name is Julie Bond. I am the Vice President and the Manager of the Plattsburgh Farmers and Crafters Market. Since the beginning of this, myself and Dick Crawford, the President, we have said nothing to anybody. We haven't said anything disrespectful. We've done everything you've asked. We've gone to every meeting you've had. But in light of what was said earlier, I'm just going to let you know that I'm disappointed. The few meetings we did have, we did talk about relocation. We talked about the fact that we need more parking spots down at the market because feasibly the 30 that were going to be there was not going to work. Relocation, we talked about it. We let you know that the only way we can do it going down to the marina is if we have a building. We have to have a building. And now it's been said that we're working with you about the definite relocation. We don't know what that is in reference to. We don't remember working with you in that extent, to that extent that we definitely wanted to move. Is it something that obviously we have to do? Well, you just said it earlier, so obviously we're going to have to do it. And then it was brought up something about a grant to make a building down there, or to build a building for us. We haven't heard anything about that. I had to hear it from somebody else. The Plattsburgh Farmers and Crafters Market has been here for how long? 20 more years? The people you've seen the last 3 weeks have been blowouts down there. Complete blowouts. I worked really hard this year to make it a success, make everything, happen that's positive for the community. But it's not just a community thing, it's a retail establishment down there. People go there to make money. Our producers, our crafters, our bakers, our meat suppliers. We're there to make money. People go there to buy local, which supports the community. You get rid of us, there's going to be a whole lot of unhappy people, and it's not going to benefit the community because you're putting farmers in no place to sell in Plattsburgh. I myself have a baking business. I'd like to keep it. I just don't understand why you can say that we worked with you to move when this is all new to us. That's all I'm saying.
Are there any other public comments at this time?
I know you've heard a lot about this, the DRI project, but my name's Aubrey. I've been here for like a month straight, sitting in front of City Hall, protesting against this. I know we're talking about wanting to create jobs and we want to bring people here and expanding the waterfront, but we can walk to it. Parking lot near a park to the waterfront, are you worried about flooding? Have you thought about that? And then also, I learned just a couple days ago, last meeting, we talk about building infrastructure, a crumbling infrastructure. Why is it that $50,000 was extracted from the road budget to build this stage? Why was that a good idea? I just, that's one thing that's really bothering me. And it's hard enough to live here. It's hard enough to afford to live here. Jobs, we have jobs. We don't need to create more jobs. We're gonna just have no profit, no revenue, just more wasting space, and just, I don't agree. So, thanks.
I need to correct one thing. $50,000 was not removed from road budgets to build a stage. There's more than enough in the road budget. Thank you. Any other further public comments? Did you speak already earlier?
I did, but that was before the,
Please.
so really it's a question, when will we, last time we had handouts that had this information, will we be getting handouts at all? Any of these
They'll be all
slides
placed on the website. Yeah.
on the website so that we can digest them and look at them? And then when can we address the questions that arise? Next
Anytime,
council
come.
meeting?
Yeah,
Or now, perhaps?
anytime.
Come to council
Okay.
meetings.
So I just wanted to say a few things that weren't mentioned. I happened to notice, it looks like Derby Street's gonna be one way. I saw some arrows pointing one way. That's a new development, I think, wasn't mentioned.
That is a new development, yeah.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one and brings me to one of my really big concerns, and that's traffic flow. I think I mentioned it before, so I won't belittle the point. But something else that strikes me is I didn't see a loading zone. I wonder if a loading zone and garbage collection area has been addressed, and if that's going to be...
It's on the site plan.
It's on the plan? Yep. It just doesn't seem apparent. Would it be on Bridge Street?
No, it's internal. On
Internal.
the south end of the building one.
Building one being left?
Correct. So as you're looking at it to the right.
Is that the building that is going to house the restaurant, hopefully restaurant?
We don't have any potential tenants as of yet.
But you're hoping to attract one?
That could be office, could be anything.
Right.
We're open to anything.
If I remember correctly, you were hoping to attract a restaurant.
What you can do is
But, so deliveries for that restaurant, the supplies, and garbage removal, waste removal, there's a place for that?
That's all part of the planning process that we're about to begin. Yes.
Okay, probably being the seeker.
Could be.
Great, I look forward to seeing that. And I'm thrilled to hear that the architectural design is being considered with our historic nature of our town. That's really, really important to me and many of the people that I've talked to. So I look forward to seeing those renderings. Will those be available anytime soon?
As we progress through the process, that'll be part of the review.
Okay, hopefully before the final vote, of course.
That's all part of it.
All part of it, absolutely. Okay, and also, thank you for removing the pool. That's really terrific. But I did notice that the footprint where the pool was really hasn't changed. Has that gotten smaller?
No, it has changed. It's moved from one building to the next.
Well, it's moved where it was, but the footprint of it
It's
is
the same
still
size.
about the same size, is it not?
I don't know off the top of my head, to scale it.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Because I had counted out that that footprint could account for maybe 25, 30 parking spots. Would you think that's that way?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Okay, well, I think so. Check it out. So, yeah, okay, great. Well, it certainly looks a lot less so without the pool. But the footprint's still there, and, it still seems like a expensive use of space. My opinion. Counselor Kelly, I know I'm not supposed to address any particular council, so I'd like to mention Counselor Kelly's remarks that we need growth. And I couldn't agree more. We need growth downtown, absolutely. And, what is growth? It's more residents moving downtown.
Tax dollars, more tax dollars.
Well, and it's more businesses housing them, occupying downtown space. In short, it's increasing demand downtown. Thank you. In short, it's increasing demand for downtown. That's what growth is. And as the woman spoke
One
earlier.
definition.
I'm sorry, what?
That's one definition of growth.
Okay, well, it's my
There are
definition of
lots.
growth. And
Just have a
so,
point of order, we're here to hear the public comments, and
True.
it's
Right.
not an open forum to have a discussion.
Sorry, Jim.
so I'll save my remarks then, Counselor. And
No, he was directing them to Counselor Kelly.
I'd be happy to talk with you after the meeting.
I'd rather talk to the council and to the public,
Fine.
for the record. Growing our city requires increasing the demand for apartments, increasing the demand for business space, not supplying the demand, or excuse me, not supplying the spaces, okay? Build it and they will come. It's a great soundbite from a great movie, but it's also risky, okay? Because what if they don't come? Have we considered that? What happens in 10 years if the demand isn't there? This is not a growth project. It's a supply project, and I think it's very risky. Thank you, and I'm sorry that was...
Thank you.
Any other individual like to please come address the council?
I would like to address the council, having seen the plans, on just one particular aspect of it. Because you're telling us that you widened the walkway between the art park and the river. But I just would like to share with you that I don't care how wide the space is, my idea is that I don't feel like walking through a private parking lot. That to me is not scenic, it's not therapeutic, it's not green, it's not entertaining, and I'm not even sure what it's gonna look like. Because in all the plans that you ever presented, you never presented us what it's gonna look like from the river. It would seem to me that the people of Plattsburgh have the right to see what this is going to look like. And it seems like a dereliction of responsibility on your behalf that you don't even show us what it's going to look like in 3 dimensions. When I walk down that parking lot and get to the river and there's a narrow like little space there, and I look back at it, what am I going to see? So I would humbly like to ask you if you could please provide us with some image of what this is going to look like from the riverfront. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other individuals like to please come address the council? Seeing none, can we reconvene at Harborside and scout out the...
Do we have to adjourn from here?
No, we'll be adjourning at the end of the meeting.
No,
We can adjourn from there, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Make a note.
So this
Yep.
phase of the meeting is over?
Oh, no. Oh, no, we'll go for more. Sadly.
I like hearing that there was no discussion of the Plattsburgh Farmers Market when that's what we were voting.
I asked specifically in my meeting.
Me too.
All right, field trip.